This is not starting off well. Okay, so I am gonna tell this story. Okay, so I got real deep into this. Like, there was many Wikipedia pages that I referenced. Like,
now how do we? Okay, hold on a second. But can we really actually like trust Wikipedia? Because can't you and I put stuff on Wikipedia?
yeah, I mean, okay, so I talked to my husband about this because he's a big history buff.
Okay.
And okay, so the problem with what we're doing, so our story is Hippasus, and I don't know, is that how you say it? I think so.
Say it again.
Hippasus. It's Hippasus. 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 Hippasus.
Hippasus.
Okay, that's how we say it now. Hippasus. Okay, so I talked to him about this because I just kept getting like more and more layers. So the challenge with this, and there'll be a lot of times where I'm like, well, and maybe it was this and maybe it was this. So like Greek and Italy were like the only places that had the technology to write things down. And so the stories were like filtered, and it was mostly the Greeks. And so you'll see how this got to the Greeks later. But so mostly that region was the only place that had to write things down. So everything was through their lens.
Well, what did they do though? How did they write it down?
In paper? I don't know. I didn't ask. Well, let me go wake up my husband. I'll go, no, they had like ink. No, they had ink and paper. I'll go wake up my husband, my resident history expert. Anyhow, so like this is all stuff, and there's a lot of places, and I tried to be like, well, and then maybe it was this theory. You know what I mean? Like,
okay,
I think Wikipedia for stuff like this is pretty okay.
I think you're right, because it's not like the history is.
It's there, but it's also weird because of the technology they had back then.
Absolutely.
A lot
okay.
of weird
different influences. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, and I tried to acknowledge that where I could. Okay. So we have this. How did we decide to say his name?
Hippasus.
Hippasus. Okay. So Hippasus, who probably lived between 530 BC and 450 BC. Okay, but we don't actually know totally when he was born, because you know we just talked about that. The whole Greeks was the only place writing things down. Okay, so he was born in a coastal Italian city, but ended up landing in the city in Croton. So let me tell you about Croton. Okay, so it's like
crouton, but just pronounced differently.
No, it's Croton.
Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. I've actually seen that in writing before. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So Croton is pivotal. Like, okay. Anyhow.
I'm with you. All right.
All right. So it's a city commune on the coast in Italy. Okay. So you know how Italy is a boot? It's like where the ball of your foot would be. So it's kind of like on the bend, like it's a boot, and it's like right there. Okay. So Croton was known for having medical physicians. They had a lot of doctors.
Oh.
They were really known for doctors. And they also were really known for the Olympic champions. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about lots of Olympic champions, but one of their last champions, and I don't know what happened after this guy, but okay, so I spent a while on him. Milo the wrestler. Okay, so he's a six-time, Milo the wrestler. Okay. So he's a six-time Olympic champion, carried a bull on his shoulders, broke a headband by flexing his temples.
No, he did not.
Okay, well, I told my husband about this, and he said that probably didn't happen. But whatever, I'm going with it. It was on Wikipedia.
Aren't headbands usually elastic? Okay.
Well, back then, did they have elastic in 530 BC?
Did they have headbands? I don't know.
Clearly something. I don't know what it was made of. Okay. So to intimidate his competitors, he would eat raw bull's meat and drink bull's blood in front of them. My husband said that was probably true.
Gross.
Okay. So in his diet, 20 pounds of meat, 20 pounds of bread, and 10 liters of wine a day. My husband said that was probably not true. So he fact-checked this for me.
Oh, this is great. Okay.
So Milo comes back. Okay.
Okay.
That's Milo. Okay. I became obsessed with Milo. Okay.
Milo. He needs his own music. We need to get some music for him too.
I know, right? I don't know what it is yet. The Rocky theme song. All right.
Yeah,
So
there-
Pythagoras founded his school in Croton. So Pythagoras, so that's our math. Okay.
All
And
right.
how do you say it, by the way? Because Ben was making fun of me.
Croton or Pythagoras?
No,
I just say Pythagoras.
Pythagoras. Okay, see, I say Pythag, but that's the same reason I say bag instead of bag. It's the same
Bag.
sound. The AG.
Have I told you my husband thinks I say milk? I'm like, I do not say milk. I say milk. Anyway, okay.
I say milk.
Milk?
Milk.
It has an I in
Okay,
there.
so Pythagoras.
Pythagoras. Uh-huh.
Pythagoras.
Pythagoras.
Okay, because it's my whole Minnesota accent messes it all up. All right, so Pythagoras.
Pythagoras. Mm-hmm.
Okay, he founded his school in Croton. Okay, and his students were labeled the Pythagoreans. That would be like me having like Marikaeans and you having Rochellians. I think that's what Rochellians.
That sounds actually really good. Okay.
Rochellians. Okay.
Behind this. Okay.
All right. So they were actually, so it's like this group of people, right?
Right.
And of course, we know some of the things they did, and we'll get into
I
that.
know a few things. Yeah.
But they actually like ran the city. Like there was like the council that was in charge, and they ran the city, right?
Right.
Okay, so there were some connections between Pythagoras and Milo.
No way.
So let me tell you. Okay, again, my best friend Milo and I. Okay.
Okay.
So there's in writing, there's a lot of Milo and Pythagoras mentioned. So some people think that there was another Pythagoras who was a wrestling trainer. But others believe that it was probably the same person.
That they were tight.
That Pythagoras was Milo's wrestling trainer.
Well, what if was Milo actually Pythagoras?
Oh, crap. Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyways, well, okay, so, but let me tell you about this next part, because they might not. Okay, so some say that Milo saved Pythagoras by holding up a collapsing pillar at a banquet. That's one of the lores. Also, some reports say that Milo married one of the Pythagoreans. Her name was Maya, M-Y-I-A.
M-Y-I-A.
But also some maybe thought that that was actually Pythagoras' daughter.
Maya.
I think Maya. Anyway, so basically Milo and Pythagoras are tight.
Like, okay, so they're buds. They're like
they're like buds, like family in some sense.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. So again, this gets into the whole written in Greece.
Right.
Yeah, like a lot of word of mouth. A lot of this stuff was written down like 500 years later, so who knows?
Who knows? Pass down, yeah.
Okay. All right. So back to the city of Croton, right?
Croton. Okay. I'm ready.
Where Milo is and where the Pythagoreans are, and they're like medical and Olympic things, right? So they had a rival. So their rival was the city of Sybaris. S-Y-B-A-R-I-S.
That sounds right.
Sybaris.
Okay. Is it close? Is it still in Italy close?
Yeah, so it's actually up. So you know how it's a boot?
Yeah.
They're like up in like where your arch would be, right before the heel.
Oh,
so kind of around the bend, right? Okay. So there's this guy in Sybaris, Tellus the Tyrant. Okay. So he took the,
I said TT.
Yeah, TT, Tellus the Tyrant. So he banished the 500 wealthiest citizens from Sybaris by seizing their property. Okay, so he took all their property. The citizens went to Croton to seek refuge. Okay. So we have the Pythagoreans are like huge, like in the running the city.
Yeah. Okay.
So the leader council, some of them Pythagoreans, some of them not, viewed this as an opportunity to address their rival. Okay. So,
hopefully nicely. Were they nice to the refugees? Okay.
Met Milos, right? Okay. Well, no, they were nice to the refugees. So Pythagoras specifically, I couldn't say that, specifically like really wanted to take care of them, right?
Okay, because the
council ultimately was mad at Sybaris for, I don't know, or this tyrant guy. So they sent and then the Siberiuses heard that the Crotons were mad, and so everyone took up arms. They were all angry, right? So Croton sent 100,000 men. 100,000 men, that's so many.
That is a lot.
So many. 100,000 men led by
Milo
the wrestler.
Did Milo have on his like bull on his shoulders and chewing on the leg?
Let me tell you about what he was said to have worn.
Hopefully something. Hopefully he was wearing something.
Well, barely. No, he wore all of his Olympic crowns, a lion skin, and was carrying a club similar to Hercules.
No, come on.
What it said on Wikipedia. Okay. So Milo's so he gets Milo and the army destroyed Siberius. Okay, real quick, we're gonna end the Milo's part of the story real quick. He's all awesome, right? This awesomeness, like all these lores about how strong he was and all this.
Headband breaking.
Apparently he died in a forest by himself from a wolf attack. And all this, and he died by wolves in the forest by himself.
Well, you know why? You know why that probably happened? Because he had all his medals. He couldn't like.
That's on his way back from Siberia. That's totally it. I think you cracked. We should go change Wikipedia.
Yes, we actually have the credentials to do so, right?
Do we? Because we're teachers.
No, anyone can. Did you not know?
Because anyone has the credentials.
Yes.
Anyhow.
Okay.
So he didn't die during the war though. He died later.
Oh, so
like he was older. Yeah. Okay.
That's unfortunate. I'm sorry, Milo. I'm sorry.
I know, right? Poor Milo. Okay. So after the Croton army defeated Siberius or destroyed the city, they destroyed it. There was an insurgency of prominent citizens in Croton who were unhappy, and they actually pushed the Pythagoreans out of influential power.
Okay, this is kind of where I know a little bit. Like, I mean, you did some research, but this is like me knowing a little.
Yeah, like they got pushed out. So, and this will not be the first time that they get pushed out.
Oh, so maybe I know about another time. Okay.
Yeah, there's more. Like, okay, well, let me.
They were afraid of them.
So, back to Hippasus. So, Hippasus is thought to have been born in 530 BC, and this war thing happened in 510. So, he joined the Pythagoreans like a little bit after this.
Well, and joining the Pythagoreans was like a big deal. You had to you had to be super duper with it.
Okay, well, so there were two ways that the early ones where it was called like a closed compound, I guess. So you had to have been like born into it, but then they kind of, I don't know if they got sick of those people or they ran out of people because they kept getting so people that were against the Pythagoreans, because it was kind of like a philosophy, like a way of living, people that were against it were burning their cities down.
What?
The Pythagoreans compound, yeah. There were Pythagorean groups that would burn down the Pythagorean compound.
That's not cool. The Pythagoreans, they were like doing good work, like math work. Like,
well, yeah, but they also were super influential.
And probably intimidating.
They were super intimidating. Okay.
Very intimidating.
So they were originally founded in the 6th century BC. So isn't the 6th century BC, isn't that the 500s?
Yeah. Ooh.
Isn't it always off by 100 years?
It is always off by like the 19th century.
Oh no, it would have been in the 600s because we're off on this side. 80 is off, side. But
we got to go back. Yep.
But that makes sense because Hippasus was born in 530 BC, and it would have been existed before that. Yeah, so it was in the 600s. It was BC. It was developed.
Okay, the Pythagoreans. Okay.
Yeah, the Pythagoreans founded the Pythagorean like compound, I guess. Anyway, so originally the first one was in Croton, but it spread to other coastal cities in Italy.
Okay.
So after Pythagoras' death, many of them ended up having to flee to Greece because they didn't have like the strength of leadership anymore.
Okay.
So Hippasus, who we were talking about.
Yeah.
Do you want to ask something?
Well, no, I was just like, I think I didn't realize they were from Italy originally. I literally thought that the Pythagoreans were Greek. So
no, that's just where everything got written down.
And that makes sense.
And that's where Plato learned about the thinking of the Pythagoreans. And so Plato was heavily influenced by the Pythagoreanism.
Okay.
And so that actually means that it's a huge influence on Western culture, because Plato's like one of our main guys.
Right.
Yeah. So we're nestled, a lot of our thinking is nestled in Pythagoreans.
Yeah.
Okay. So they, anyways, they kept getting like displaced. There were a lot of groups that didn't like them. So Pythagoras himself was a polymath, so he's knowledgeable in skills in a lot of areas. Like he knew a lot of things. He's like apparently Olympic trainer. He was a politician. He knew a lot of stuff. So a lot of them, so the early Pythagoreans engaged in a rigorous life of intellect, and they had strict rules. Okay, so I'm going to lay this word on you. Kausmatkoi. I don't know. AKOUSMATIKOI. A kamastikoi.
Oh, a kausmatico. A kausmatico?
I don't know. Anyways, that was what they called their belief of diet, clothing, and behavior. So they had like strict regimen.
I gotta look that up later.
A kausmatkoi. I don't know. So, and then the new Pythagoreans were actually chosen based on merit and discipline. So like the early ones were kind of like family, and then they had to bring in new people.
Well, I've got some thoughts on why they might, like, not everybody, you know, you told me that story about those 9 brothers or whatever, but like not everybody that's born into a family is going to have the same.
Yes.
You know, so they got to bring some new people in, right?
Oh, the 9 brothers, yeah, that'll be a future video.
I
had to pause myself on my research on that. I was like, this is deep. It might be many.
So much.
Yeah.
So much.
Okay, so let's talk about the initiation for the new Pythagoreans.
Okay. This, like,
I don't know what.
Haven't you seen Donald Duck in Math Magic Land? Are you for real right now?
I'll write it down right now.
Yes. Are we friends? Really?
I don't know. We might not be. Are we not friends? Donald Duck in Math Magic Land.
Yes. It's like, it's the best thing ever. We used to watch it when we were kids at school, and then I got myself a copy. Anyway, long story short, Donald Duck in Math Magic Land has a whole set of time with the Pythagoreans. And there's like the pentagram, right?
Okay, well, yeah, we will get to a pentagon later.
Okay.
That comes up. We haven't come back to our friend Hippasus yet.
Hippasus.
Okay, so, all right, so the initiation, if you were one of the new Pythagoreans, to be initiated, you had to sit and listen to teachings for 5 years. 5 years.
Okay, and their years were the same as our years, correct? I mean, you know, like dog years. I just wanted some perspective. I was trying to be silly. We might have to pause. Oh, you're losing it. My God.
No, keep going. All right, 5 years. It's the same as our 5 years.
You know, dog years, like, you know. Okay. You know I'm not dumb. I was actually just being silly, and then when I saw your reaction, like, okay, keep going. Oh boy, I'm awake.
I'm kind of upset we chose to do this on video right now. Oh my God. Okay, so yes, what everyone agrees 5 years is of silence and listening.
Okay, I just can't imagine. Can you imagine 5 years? Like,
no, I can't do 4 seconds.
I mean, you can't even wait for your nails to dry. So, like, what?
I cannot though. These are trashed.
The same, like whenever I get a pedicure.
Yeah, I can't even do a manicure.
No, because
I gotta have the speed dry.
Absolutely, because I put my toes on the car door or whatever. Like, okay.
Anyhow,
for 5 years, so they don't get to contribute at all. They're literally just sitting there.
Listening. Just listening for 5 years. All right. So, and then they could test to be a part of the inner circle, which was like the elite, like real thinkers. Okay, so real quick about the inner circle. And I was actually kind of impressed on this. So there were 235 listed somewhere. I didn't actually look at the list somewhere. This is what Wikipedia said. And 17 of them were women, which percentage-wise isn't great. But considering how little women are portrayed in educational and like leader roles, that's actually pretty significant. So apparently women were incredibly important and equally eligible for the inner circle. Like Pythagoras loved women.
Well, that's good.
It doesn't sound scandalous either. I was waiting, I was like, oh crap, but no, like just literally valued their thinking.
Because we're kind of rad.
Yeah, and his wife actually, after Pythagoras died, she led the Pythagoreans for a while.
Okay.
I forgot to look up her name. I know it. I have a slide on her in Women in Math Month, but I forgot to put it in.
I'm okay. Can I just tell you, I'm still kind of stuck back with the like sitting for 5 years listening, because like, does anyone really think they have enough knowledge more than someone else to just like sit there and blah 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 for 5 years?
Oh, honey, yeah. I think they did think that they were elite. They were the elite.
I know.
Thinkers of the world. Okay, so the first women philosophers were Pythagoreans. Right. Yeah, so that's cool.
That is
all right, so and their influence wherever they went was really great because they were super intelligent and thinkers, right? And so they kept getting pushed out by anti-Pythagorean groups.
I think weren't they afraid? Weren't they afraid of the Pythagoreans because they were so mighty in like mind?
Yeah.
Like I used to tell, yeah.
Yeah, they were afraid. Okay, so all right, so they called their act of learning and studying mathematikoi.
Say that 5 times fast. Okay.
Mathematikoi. I don't know. I kind of like that other word. MATHEMAT. So like mathematic, and then IKOI again.
Mathematikoi. Yeah, mathematikoi.
Yeah, mathematikoi. And so it was mostly mathematical thinking, but also promoted other scientific study.
Okay.
Which we know that math is like the language of science. So
absolutely it is.
Like they needed to establish this before they could fully express other ideas.
Yeah,
and that theme, I'm sure, in all of our videos will continue. Okay.
Yeah, because we don't always get the I can't think of the word that we deserve. Mathematics.
The credit.
Credit
That's
is
the word you couldn't come up with. Credit.
I might have been looking for a fancier word and I just didn't.
Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, so some of the things, I'm just going to list them, and then there's a couple we're going to get into more. But
okay.
So the Pythagoreans were credited with theories and concepts, and I forgot this, but harmonic musical intervals.
Well, if you had watched Donald Duck in Mathmagicland, you would have known that. For real! They were...
All right, I put it on a sticky note. Look, right there, sticky note.
Okay, and good luck finding it, because I have it on VHS back at school. But good luck on finding it. It's actually, it's probably on YouTube now.
Probably on Disney Plus.
You know what? It might be. But do you remember that store down in Seattle that's like has everything?
Yeah. The you mean the math store?
No, the video and movie store and a music store. Okay. Well, it has everything. I like went down there and was like, I need your Mathmagicland. This is like 2004.
Well, I'm gonna look on Disney Plus today.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right. So harmonic music intervals, which is why I picked Good Vibrations. When I read that, for some reason, Good Vibrations popped in my head. Yep. All right. Also, they defined numbers in certain ways, and they were super into proportions. And then they studied the mathematical methods of arithmetic and geometry. So all of that is going to come together with our friend Hippasus. So Hippasus was
Hippasus.
Like, he took a leadership role, right? Like there's different accounts for it, so I didn't feel comfortable like I put a lot of things from Wikipedia in here, but this I didn't feel comfortable with. But some say he was like the leader of the mathematical study, and some say he was the leader of like the like life study, like the diet, clothing, behavior. Like there's like conflicting reports, but he was a leader, right? Like he quickly rose to like almost Pythagorean status. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about these things that they believe real quick. Let me screen share my PowerPoint. Okay, because I think you'll be able to write on it, so you can add things.
Okay, are they back in Croton?
Yes, they're still in Croton.
Okay, so they came back from. Okay.
Well, no, they hadn't. They like when they didn't move until like the 400s, until the 400s, and so Hippasus. Hippasus was probably mostly in Croton. Okay, so this is a map. So this blue star, this is about where Croton was.
Is this really a map, Marika? Thank you.
Yes, this is really a map.
This is a map.
Okay. This is a map. Okay. You can see it, right? You can see the map?
I can. You just said, this is a map. I'm like, yeah, I know it's a map.
All right, whatever. So this is Italy. This is Croton. So this is where they were. And then this is Sybaris. This is the place they invaded.
Oh, where they went. Okay.
Like around the corner.
And
yeah.
Milo died in some forest. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Connecting pieces.
Well, he probably died by Croton. I didn't have any records of Milos moving. Okay.
Okay. Good.
All right. So Pythagorean. Actually, I want to talk about numbers first. I want to talk about numbers. No, I skipped. Oh, I'm missing a slide. Okay. All right. Well, I'll just write on here. Okay. So where's my annotate?
I don't think I can. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, you can. Okay. So, they had a whole bunch of beliefs about numbers. So one of the things, and this is like, okay, so when they were talking about numbers back then, they only had the natural numbers, which are the positive counting numbers, right? Yeah. So, and they didn't have a concept of zero yet. They only had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and on. Okay. But they also didn't have any symbols to represent it. So they didn't have like the symbol for 1.
Right.
And they didn't use letters. So they actually used pebbles to represent numbers. So, and they called it Sci-Fi. So P-S-I-P-H-I. Sci-Fi?
Oh, yeah. I think
Shut up. Is it sci-fi? Is it sci-fi? Is it sci-fi?
I don't know. It might
be sci-fi. Anyhow, which is pebbles. And so one of the things, and this is one of my personal obsessions. Ooh, look at that awesome circle. Is the triangle numbers. So like this is 1. And then the next triangle number would be 3. And then the next one would be 6. And there's all kinds of cool properties that come with with the triangle number. So this is what I wrote my number theory, like thesis, final project paper thing was on triangle numbers.
Was it really?
Yeah. And so they had triangle numbers, they had squares, they had rectangles, and they had pentagon numbers. And so they would arrange pebbles in certain ways and examine the relationships. So they also were the ones that like started to think about perfect numbers, which are the ones where you take all their divisors and add them up and it equals the number. So like 6 is 1 because the factors are 1, 2, and 3. 28 is another one because the factors are.
What? I love how you have these off the top of your head. I haven't thought about this in a long time. Clearly.
So the factors are 1, 2, 4, 7, and 14, right? So if you add all those up, it equals 28. So those are perfect numbers. Those are the only 2 I remember. And then they also developed the original theories on odd and even and how they're central to arithmetic. So like 2 evens make an even, 2 odds make an even, like that kind of thing.
Okay, that made me think about the triangle numbers, and like the triangle numbers could be odd or even.
Yes.
Is there a pattern? Okay, never mind.
Yes. I don't remember it right now, but yeah.
No,
I love triangle numbers. Like I could go for, that's a whole nother. We gotta save this. Okay.
Yeah, just thinking, because
anyways, odds and evens. That'll come back in a second too. Okay, so they also there are 2 Pythagorean philosophers, Philolos and Archytas, who held the belief that numbers could address important philosophical problems. So they thought that if you assigned philosophical ideas a number and you examined how those numbers interacted, that you would come up with solutions to philosophical problems.
Well, that is so interesting. There's like modern day people that think this similarly.
Yeah, they are the basis of numerology. Like,
oh yeah. I was thinking like just mathematicians too. Like anyway.
Oh yeah, come from that. So like some examples is 1 was intellect and being, 2 was the idea of thought, and then justice is 4 because it's an even number of evens. 2 times 2 is 4, and so if you like thought doubly, I don't remember all the way they described it. Anyway, somehow the fact that you squared 2 and got 4 meant thought became justice. So like equality and that kind of thing, and what's right and wrong. And then 3 is incredibly important because of their triad of ethics in Pythagorean land. So prudence, drive, and good fortune were kind of like their like ethical guidelines, and so it's 3. But my husband pointed out that 3 is an important number in almost every sort of belief system. Like the triad idea is really important. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So do you want to do our Pythagorean theorem? Do you want to share? Why can't I get it to?
Am I sharing like what the Pythagorean theorem is? What am I sharing?
Yeah. Oh, why are these still on here?
Oh, I can fix that.
Wait, eraser?
Yeah, you
Oh,
just hit clear.
Right.
Hit clear.
Oh, clear.
Whole screen.
Clear all drawings. Cool. Okay. All right. So you want to describe the Pythagorean theorem for us?
So the Pythagorean theorem has to do with right triangles. Did you just erase what I wrote?
Nope.
Okay. Right triangles. And oh, my phone is buzzing. Okay, so there's our right triangle. And the Pythagorean theorem tells us that the sum of the squares on the legs of a right triangle are equal to the square on the hypotenuse. You know, I hadn't been thinking about this very well. Here, let's see. So what does it mean to be a square on a leg? Oh,
are you writing on it?
What?
Are you writing on there?
Yeah, can you not see it?
No, I can't see it. Oh, okay. Now I see a square.
Oh, that's weird. There's like a delay for you?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah, I'm getting it. Yeah.
Okay, is it showing? Oh boy,
Mm-hmm.
I ran out of space because I didn't.
It's okay. We get it. It's a square. Okay. Yeah, I get it.
These are the 2 legs, this one and this one. And then the area of the, notice I made a square that's the length of that leg. So let's just say, oh, brother. I need black. There it is. Okay. So let's just say this length of this was 3. Then the area of this would be 9. And let's say, is this longer or shorter? Who knows? We're going to say it's 2 just because.
Doesn't matter. You draw it. It's whatever you want it to be.
Thank you. You are
not to scale. I'm putting the disclaimer, not to scale.
Thank you. Not to scale. Okay.
So it is what we say it is.
The Pythagorean theorem tells us that this square is going to be 13. And so the cool thing about that is it gives us this way to figure out how long is this hypotenuse. How long is that side if we just know the 2 other sides. So
okay. All right.
Keep going?
Well, no. What would the side be? Like, what would we say in our knowledge?
Well, in our knowledge, it would be the square root of 13. Okay.
So can you write that on there?
I absolutely can.
And then I might add some stuff. Okay. So this is where, okay. So the Pythagoreans believed like deeply in numbers, right? And they only had natural numbers, but they did acknowledge that there was probably like proportional smaller sections of numbers. So they basically acknowledged that fractions existed.
Okay, without really calling it that. Like, I mean, it makes sense. Like
Yeah, they called it something.
Okay. All right.
The name. Okay, so square root of 13. So in our world, that would be, we call that an irrational number.
Absolutely, we did.
Because it can't be written as a fraction.
But it can't.
What, it can?
No, it can't be written as a fraction, but it can be represented on a number line.
Yes, yeah.
That is the
so so in the land of Pythagorean, they were kind of discrete. So they had whole numbers. They did acknowledge that they were probably partial of something. So what they originally thought was like, if you had a triangle, pretend that's a right triangle, with 1 and 1, then the hypotenuse here, not to scale. There
I
we
was
go.
just going to do that for you because I was like, I can pretend, but just give me this.
Okay. So the hypotenuse would be a length of 1 plus some ratio, some parts. I'm just going to call it a blah, some part blah. So then they did acknowledge that then if the side, oh my gosh, I'm not good at this. If the sides were like 2 and 2, then this would be the length of 2 plus blah. What I was unclear on is if they acknowledged that the blah would be bigger, but they believed that that little extra bit was proportional in all triangles. Okay, so like
to each other or proportional to the other side?
To both. Like the blah for 1 would be proportional to the blah for the 2, 2. So that's what they believed. That's how they hadn't assigned it any sort of value. They also believed that there was like, if 2 were, so like if this was even and odd, then this, an odd plus an even is odd, so this would have to be an odd number. But they hadn't resolved the blah part for it being odd. Does that make sense? Like, and so an even and an even would have to be even. So our friend Hippasus, who's like rising in the ranks.
Hippasus.
Hippasus. Dang it. Hippasus was rising in the ranks, right, of all of this, and he sat and proved that in a right triangle, that if you have an odd and an even side, so like this here, he proved in one sense that an odd plus an even would result in an odd side. And then in another sense that an odd plus an even would also result in an even side, which blew up their minds. Like they were like, no, like that broke all of their things. It also broke up this idea of blah. So he basically proved that there was this other group of numbers, the irrational numbers, which they called originally the alogos, which meant inexpressible, which I like that better than irrational, just saying. The inexpressible numbers. Because it's hard to like draw it, like you can't develop it really unless you use squares, right? Like square root of 13, like you need a square to be able to acknowledge that there's a square root of 13.
Absolutely, and yes, and that's
so their own theorem spoke against what they believed about numbers,
which is so interesting. And I think if kids understood that the square is related to a square from the very get-go, I think a lot of irrational stuff would make more sense.
Yeah, and so the Pythagorean theorem that they're known for actually disproved their beliefs about numbers. And say his name again,
Hippasus.
Hippasus.
Maybe I don't know.
Right, and so we know now there's a whole bunch of inexpressible. I'm going to say that instead of irrational. I always thought irrational was kind of rude. Anyhow, so inexpressible numbers like pi, Euler's number, golden ratio, and Fibonacci. We're going to do a video on that later. And like the square root of 2, like these are huge. Like we hang a lot on those values, right? In math.
Absolutely.
So Hippasus paved the way for us to like really open up mathematics, right?
For sure.
Okay, well, legend has it that for some reason he was doing this on a boat. He wrote this proof on a boat. Well,
I do math on boats all the time.
All the time. Maybe they were running away because their village was on fire. I don't know. But so a fellow Pythagorean threw him overboard when he expressed this. Yes! Threw him overboard.
Okay, so I remember in my minimum knowledge compared to what you've done here studying, I remember that like.
You mean compared to Wikipedia's knowledge?
The knowledge of the people.
Yeah, with all the credentials.
But I remember thinking that like the Pythagorean theorem may not have actually been developed by Pythagoras.
No, probably not. It was his
followers.
Yeah, like he developed a super team. He developed the Avengers of math, right? Like he.
But so this is a point I always like to make was like So can you imagine like coming up with something like so cool and innovative and then like giving someone else credit in this day and age? Like, can you imagine?
Okay, well, here's the other theory on our friend Hippasus. Okay, so I don't know why I'm having a hard time with that, but so our other theory on our friend Hippasus is that Pythagoras himself killed him. Okay, let me go ahead and just clear these.
Yeah, did you figure out
clear? So you mentioned that they were really into pentagrams, right? Or pentagons?
Pentagrams.
So and pentagons and all that, right? So a dodecahedron is a 20-sided figure made up of pentagons, right?
Right.
Okay, so he figured out, Hippasus figured out how to inscribe a dodecahedron inside of a sphere. So he did that as well.
Okay, wait, reverse that. You inscribed a sphere inside of a dodecadon, or circumscribed the dodecadon on the sphere.
No, he inscribed a dodecagon. No.
He inscribed.
He took a sphere and he put the dodecagon inside of it.
The dodecadon inside of the sphere?
It's inside.
Okay, yeah. It looks
This one, the dodecagon is inside.
Oh, okay. I was focused on the other one. I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry. This one. This is the one I was talking about. This one, right? So the dodecagon is inscribed.
Right, yes.
Yeah, okay. So this one. So he developed this, and Pythagoras was jealous, and so one theory is that Pythagoras threw him overboard because he did this, and Pythagoras claimed it.
So is it Pythagoras that was the one that threw him overboard?
Well, in the story around the dodecagon, or maybe he had his people do it. But either way, Hippasus did this, and he described the inexpressible numbers, irrationals, and he died as a result. So what's our moral of the story?
Don't learn or find anything out that's new. Just kidding.
Yeah, right. Also, let's do that, but maybe don't do it on a boat.
I was gonna say, okay, one of your theories on why they were on the boat was because they were running away from their city that was burning. But do you really think you'd be like focused on math and learning?
Okay, there's a lot of holes in this story. Let's just be honest.
But honestly, okay, that was so invigorating to like sit here and listen to something that you'd researched. I feel like I don't know how to describe it.
I got real deep in this. Like, I probably was on different Wikipedia pages for hours last night. And then we were watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and made my husband stop. I was like, you have to listen to this story. And so I laid it all out, and he's like, I kind of knew all that. I'm like, what? He's like, well, I mean, he's a history major, right? And that's where he told me, like, yeah, the Greeks had all the stories.
All the things.
All the stories.
Yeah, that was interesting. I'm still, like, stuck on the wrestler. And
I know, right? Milos, what a pleasant surprise. The rest of us, I kind of knew was coming, right? It was nice to, like, brush that off. But my math teacher did not tell me about Milos.
I'm still stuck on, like, the headband thing. Like,
I know. I know, and I was so mad at my husband when he was like, yeah, that's probably not real. I was like, I don't care. Like, I like this part of the story. Milos was my favorite part.
I do appreciate that. But another thing I remember as a middle school teacher, I used to tell kids, like, that whole idea of, like, giving credit to someone else besides yourself if you've discovered something, like, how, like, you must be so allegiant to that group. The other thing was that I would always talk about how the government was, like, threatened by the Pythagoreans because they were such intellectual beings, right? Like, that. Yeah. So I always use that example of, like, okay, just say that, like, we get a letter from the president of the United States that says your third period math class is, like, threatening the government structure. Like, that whole idea just, it seems foreign to us.
Your Irrationals that you were building, that you were building in your math to, like, save the world. As long as you weren't the type that would throw them off the boat.
I don't think I could ever do that.
I don't think so either. Like, I think I'd be really proud if they came up with something.
Absolutely, because I feel like they were allegiant to me, and then they kept working hard to do things in our name, and so I don't think I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Like,
Yeah. Well, I think that I just had this thought right now. I think one of the reasons that he proved the irrational, the inexpressible numbers, I'm not going to use irrational anymore because I think it's derogatory. I'm going to use inexpressible. I think he needed it to do the inscribed.